how to achieve capital growth 3 to 4 times faster than the average Australian growth rate in Australia. I want to show you today our 72-step process, our secret, that what we use to identify a hotspot. Now, literally, I'm not going to go through every single 72 steps process, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you some of the main important key ingredients that you need to look out for, and it's going to help you identify a hotspot, but most importantly, how you're going to educate yourself and understand what it takes to target a property or to a location that is going to grow faster than the Australian average growth rate. The average growth rate in Australia is 6.8%, and if you want to 2, 3, 5x that rate, you're going to have to do something a little bit different than what everyone else is doing. So let's jump straight into it. So this is something that I've created, and I'll look at a lot of things. So from a bird's eye view, from looking over the country, I'm looking at government incentives, interest rates, the economy, overseas buyers. Okay, that they affect the property market. Okay, now when I say overseas buyers, some of these are not just buying property, but this is buying goods and services from Australia, and this is what causes property prices to grow as well. And because if it's a particular location that is doing something for the economy and doing a lot of import-export goods, that economy and that property market there is going to flourish. Okay, so for instance, the mining boom that happened back in the day in WA, Port Hedland, and places that done quite well, Karratha, and had this growth, but then all of a sudden something happened and the mining boom stopped. Then there was a decline in the property market. Property prices went from $200,000 in Port Hedland to $1 million in the space of like 4 years. Okay, so there was extreme growth there. Okay, so these are some things to look out for. Okay, and now I want to touch on a few things and see what are the most important things here. So I'm not going to touch through all of them, but I'm going to talk about a few. So number one thing will be supply versus demand. Here up here is what makes up most of the property market as well, compared to a lot of other things too, and that comes from a micro level. So on the ground, having a look at what's going on in the market. Now, from a macro level, we're looking at GDP, we're looking at infrastructure pipeline, we're looking at how many jobs are getting created in this market here, because that's what has sustainability. That's what has great prospects for people wanting to move there. Great lifestyle changes to move to new locations because of the lifestyle change, but the opportunity for life and work and a different career, or maybe the same career but with a great opportunity to create more wealth. These are things that you want to look out for. And then, of course, there's a lot of other things, government policies and things like that come into play. Interest rates will have an effect on the property market. So there's a few things I'll just touch on there. But main things, like I just said, is jobs created from infrastructure pipeline as well. And then, of course, we want to look at what government policies have been implemented. Okay, from a federal, state, and council level. Because the council level will create new parks, new paths, new roads, and do community centres and things like that, aqua centres, and they're important because they improve the quality of living in a region. Next thing is, but we want to go from a state level and have a look at what government funding of main highways getting built and being brought into this economy, transport hubs, getting developed. New port upgrades or airport upgrades or hospital upgrades, things that the money's getting funded to, and that's coming from a federal level. That's bringing that money in, and the plan that they've set out from a national level of what they're doing. So these are things that we look at, and it's very important because that is human interaction changing a property market, and that will turn. The next thing was what's going to do. It's going to turn in people, so it's going to bring in internal migration. That's the key word there, internal migration, not overseas migration, internal migration, because internal migration is going to bring people migrating to that region, okay? And that is very important because they are going to change the property prices because they have money, okay, and they're ready to go. Where overseas people, 9 times out of 10, the first year alone, they're going to move into a market, and what they're going to do is rent for the first 5 years, okay? And that's good from a rental perspective, but we are looking for growth as well from an investor perspective, because of course cash flow is right, but we're looking for growth. Next thing we want to be looking at is the pipeline, building approvals. The less amount of building approvals that are getting implemented into a region, okay, and the high demand for property because there's not enough stock on the market, it's going to create more demand very simple, very, very simple. This happened in WA a lot, and people think about the mining boom. It wasn't just got to do with the mining boom. It had a lot to do with Perth and capital cities of Perth and the surrounding suburb. What happened was the market was doing so well, growing crazy, over 100 to 150% in the space of 5 years. What happened was there was an oversupply of properties. There was builders coming into an LGA, building 1,500 properties or more every given year. And all of a sudden, there was about 10,000 homes getting built into a region, and it was just an oversupply, outstripping property prices. And that's something that you don't want that to happen. So you want to be targeting in established areas, places where there's not an oversupply of property, and there's a high demand of property as well, and an influx of people coming in. So they're the things that we're looking at. And then, of course, you've got your normal vacancy rates, your stock on market, your inventory levels, of course, and then you want your days on market as well, which are quite simple, and people already know about what those indicators are. But they're things that you want to be looking at from a micro level, so you understand, okay, look, this market here has a low vacancy rate. If it's below 1%, that means that market there is going to perform quite well from a rental perspective because there's high demand. And if you're the landlord, you're in control, and you can put your prices up to a certain amount because you can get it, because you know what, there's high demand for rental properties. Same goes for stock levels, inventory levels. If there's low inventory levels and low days on market, that shows there's low supply and there's high demand. Because if you have a low supply, like low inventory levels, but your days on market is quite high, and it hasn't been dropping, that means there's no demand there too. So you got to watch out. It's like a double-edged sword. There's two sides to everything, so everything will offset each other. And then we can talk about income levels and things like that are very important from a demographic perspective. And then of course how many renters are in the market compared to owner occupiers. So these are things to look out for. Hopefully you just got some clarity about this. This is the step process that we use to identify a hotspot and give you, I guess, growth that you're going to get 3, 4, 5 times the Australian average. And so you can, target properties and then release equity in the space of 12 months or 6 to 12 months and go again and get into another property and use this strategy, because that's what growth is all about. Cash flow is amazing, but the growth is what creates the wealth as well. So if you got value from this, hopefully you did. Hopefully you learned something new. And if you did like this video, please subscribe. If you want to reach out to someone at the team at Fresh Start Advisory, if it's myself or my partner Adrian, please reach out. We're more than happy to guide you and point you in the right direction and give you a bit of education if that's what you're looking for. And we're more than happy to empower people. Okay, so thank you for watching this video, and hopefully you got something out of it, which I'm sure you did, because this is stuff that doesn't really get spoken about.